Hello, my friends. In this new Patreon tutorial, we are going to cover a breakdown of this scene that I did. I think it was 2 years ago. Uh, a lot of people love this image, and I've gotten a lot of requests for time to break it down. So, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of different images here, but I think this one is the most interesting one. I have to say that all of them are really, really simple. This project was mainly focused on the product. As you can see, the sets itself uh, weren't really complicated. This one had a little bit more of a modeling process because I spent some time with PDBs and then sculpting it. But besides that, it's mostly about light and texture most of the times. So yeah, let's jump into it and let's get started. Okay, so well, this is the scene. As I told you, it's really, really simple. I don't have the lights turned off right now. This is just an area light that I created. Gonna hide it for now. So this is the scene. Obviously, as I said, it's really, really simple. Nothing weird happening. It's just product, background, and the floor. So with that, we are gonna see what we need. Well, obviously this is already shaded. We have some materials here. So this is the main material for the bottle. And the only thing that I did is I created this pattern in Photoshop. I just duplicated some lines. I think it was in Illustrator, and then I delete them because if I remember correctly, the texture that was coming with the model itself was a little bit shitty. So I had to recreate it myself. This works quite well because it gives us a nice bump. As you can see, I have a couple of versions with more, little bit less fade. So it doesn't cover that much of the of this part of the bottle. But as I said, this is basically a bump plugged into the coating and the diffuser. We will go in deep with that a little bit later. I have a lot of selections because everything was in the same shape, the same mesh. Sorry. Honestly, if I did this today, I would have split that everything before because it's more annoying to work this way. But it's fine anyway. This is a little thing, and again, this also has like a really really simple material. I don't even I wasn't even using displacements for this because of the angle it wasn't really necessary. So I just have like a TF logo, plug into bump, and then a Maxon noise just to with really bright values plug into the reflection roughness, and that's all. It's just super simple stuff, but we can go into detail about that in a minute. So yeah, I mean, let's see how this looks right away. Okay, so this is what we see right away. I have the light that we have here. I already used on the side already, but let's just make it bigger for the sake of it. So this is what we see. Obviously, we don't see anything happening in like a super cool way right now. So let's start lighting the product first. As you can see, let me place the lights a little bit better, and I will speak about the materials once again. Let let's add a target, whatever it's called. So I don't know if you knew about that, and you can even add a target null right away. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna seal the null of the black orchid, which is the product itself. So you can see the center point is there, and I didn't mention this. The only thing that I'm using special or weird is this light, which I don't remember where it's from. but it's basically a gradient HDR. What's gonna do is like remove the light from this part and create a gradient. So when you're working with products, this is really cool because it will create a gradient, obviously, and this is really handy to give more curvature and volume to your products, so it's less flat. But honestly, if you're using HDRs for light and your product lighting, everything will look like 10 times better because they also break up the flatness of the regular lights. Okay, so yeah, let's try to move this for a second. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put. I'm not sure if I want to recreate the lighting that I did back then because it wasn't bad, but it had some stuff that I don't like that much. For example, I think we have a lot of lighting artifacts here, here, and I don't know. This feels a little bit too harsh from my point of view. I will also probably change the material a little bit because as you can see here, even though we have the bump going on top of the coating, it looks a little bit fake. So let's try to prove all that stuff. But for now, let's also put our first line on the side. Let's put it up. And let's start rotating it so we get to use the gradient itself. You see before it was getting the light was affecting all this part of the product, and if you rotate it, we are starting to direct the light a little bit more, which is really nice. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put it here. Let's reduce the intensity a little bit to something like 70. As I said before, I just like to use numbers. It's not because of any other reason. So, well, the issue that I see here is that this part is super curved. The light is stopping there. So, if we try to make it larger, we will cover more of the shape of it. So let's do that, and let's make it a little bit more as a green light. Well, that will do for now. Let's duplicate the light. Let's name this green. Oops, green. Right, and let's do the opposite on the other side. In this case, I don't want the light to affect anything but the product. So I'm gonna go to project include and select the black, the escape. Why? Because I want to keep the background dark, so it's more contrasted and impactful. Let's try to, yeah, that's cool. And as we are only affecting the light, sorry, the product, we can go past the background and it won't matter at all. I'm not sure. I might do the same for this one, so I have a little bit more flexibility on my placement of the light. So I can now put it. I think this is still too much. Let's put 22. Okay, yeah, that's cool. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna create another light. I have a shortcut for it. You see it appear magically is because of that. And in this case, we are gonna do the opposite. We are gonna put it so it doesn't include the background. This light must be really small. And well, I forgot to show you something. left. First of all, let's reduce our intensity to 22. Well, it's not so much. Let's make it bigger and reduce intensity to 11. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Let's go so you can see the background. The background is super simple. What I'm trying to do here, you can see that we have like 3 different colors, even 4. We have the darker purple, the medium purple, pink, white, and then pink again. That's because what I'm doing here. Well, right now, this is if I put it to white, well, it's gonna be too much because the light is super bright. Well, but basically, what I want to do with the light and with the gradient is mixing both, so I get the perfect result. The gradients in Cinema 4D are a little bit limited, so I like to use the lights as part of them. So put this in the diffuse. You can see I'm gonna connect this to the. This is a really simple gradient, just setting that diagonal mode. It's even linear because I was done by then. And yeah, as you can see, I'm just like adding a little bit of orange here, and this is like the bluish purple color. So I put it into diffuse. This has no reflections, no coating, anything. This is like a simple diffuse color, so nothing will affect the light besides the color. Not the sorry, nothing will affect the background besides the ramp and this lighting that we are gonna use as I said as a part of the gradient, which is really oops sorry. This is tricky because as you can see right now we are a little bit too close and we see a bit of this square shape. So I think we should go a little bit further and make it smaller. And I'm not sure if I played with the spread. Spread, for those of you that don't know, it's basically constraining the light. The light by default is gonna be uh, emitting light like from these areas. So what we are gonna do with it, let me paint it. So right now it's like that, and the spread, the lower the value, the more constrained the light would be. It's not exactly like this; it will be a little bit different. But basically, what we are gonna get is a sharper result. So yeah, that's also one thing that you have to keep in mind with the spread is that it also makes the light more intense because all the light is focusing one one direction or one point, so everything is a little bit hotter. So yeah, let's try to. So yeah, I mean that's looking cool. It's not exactly the same. I think I'm gonna try to give a little bit more directionality, so the gradient looks a little bit different. As you can see, I move it slightly, changed quite a bit. So let's try to do this like this, and put it up a little bit. It's not bad. Super dark. Anyway, let me check. It wasn't dark. No, not really. Well, just keep in mind that this image is has post production on it, so it's completely Photoshop. Which I'm not gonna do, but we are gonna apply post effects in Cinema 4D and proceed. But it's cool because we have like this kind of vignette effect. I want to, uh, 'cause I usually don't like to make images that are full black, so maybe we can add an HDRI to. So for now, what we're gonna do is let's create like the formula effector that I created here. This is a cylinder just because I don't know I felt like doing. So I think at some point it was more visible, but in any case, you can use a plane or whatever. So what I did here is I created a formula effector, which was like the useful thing, creating this wavy effect. Super clean, simple, and what I did is just I created a spherical field that constrains the effect just to, which is also really cool. So let's try to brighten up these parts a little bit. So I'm gonna create an HDRI. By default it's white, so you can see it's already doing something. What we can do is I'm gonna just include it to the background. And as you can see, it's affecting both things because what we are seeing here is the reflection of the background, which is it's really cool. So let's put this in minus 0.5. Yeah, let's this is not so dark anymore. Let me rename this. And let's keep working on the lighting of the. I'm gonna duplicate the first one that we have. Again, this is all the affected product. I'm gonna call this key. This one is really important because it needs to highlight the label. Try to lower the spread so we have a sharper. Make it smaller. If you can see anything that I'm doing. Let's make it sharper and sharper. I think this is too much. I think also what's happening here is that the other ones are a little bit distracting. So let's lower the rim light a little bit and try to put this a little bit back. And lower this one. So yeah, this is starting to look great. We are missing some light here and some light here. Mainly, let's go through the materials a little bit because I think they can be improved a little bit. So first of all, let's grab the base material and let's try. I'm gonna create a ramp with the same bump. I'm gonna put it in the reflection reflection way. So as you can see, what's happening now is that the reflections are not affecting like, the whole thing. They are more constrained to the lines. So maybe this is too much. I want to make it a little bit more even. And I think we have to do the same here, because otherwise we don't see the difference. So as you can see, I have like control. This is like no reflection of the on the inner parts of the lines. And this is, I'm gonna reduce it a little bit so we have a little bit of variation. And what I think that we should do is like both of the color of the code and the reflection color are a little bit too white, and the bottle itself it's darker in real life. Oops, I grabbed the correct one. So Instead of full white, let's go to 95 maybe, or even 80. Yeah, so basically it's less white and it's a little bit darker. Otherwise, it looks like true plastic. Let's do the same thing for the cap. Cap of the bottle is exactly the same material, just with the different uh, button color. Paste this. Okay, yeah, so this is looking way better now. Let's check the logo, which is this one that we're seeing here. This noise that I have here to break up the roughness a little bit is not working properly. Like not properly, it's just not looking great. And this should be a little bit more saturated. Because right now it's like super muted. So let's try to make it a little bit more vibrant and rich overall. So let's try to modify the noise. Let me duplicate this, and I think we're gonna make a couple of things. We're gonna create a bump blender, and we will mix these two bumps. It's really subtle because this one is super. I'm gonna pump it up, yes, so we can see a little bit of the effect. But I don't like the wavy turbulence in this case because it has a lot of detail, and I want something that's a little bit more this kind of. So let's make it bigger. But what I want with this is just to break up a little bit the, the roughness. And I'm gonna create another one. Let's plug this into the material so we can see what's doing exactly. Let's make this one's gonna go to the bump input. Well, I forgot to do something actually. These two bumps are not being mixed right now because we haven't touched anything here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the mode, and I'm just gonna plug this up so we can see a little bit of that bump on this. See, and I'm gonna do the same with the second one, which obviously is too much, but I'm gonna control it myself. So right now the noise is not so contrasted because the hues are really similar. So you can lower the intensity of the noise just by making these two even closer. So this is 60, this is 55. Let's do 58. That's cool. And one thing that I don't really like is that as this noise is gray in both, it's super rough. I want it to be a little bit more reflective. That means I will need to add more lights. But yeah, let's try to involve this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split this label here. So I'm gonna select the boot tag and this UP. UP, what it does is duplicates the mesh, the label. And now what I can do is I can duplicate the key light. I don't want to include the black orchid. I want to the label only. And as I have the axis there, I'm just gonna use that as my target. This is obviously it's super hot. Let's reduce it down until we get something we like. Okay, so right now it's super busy. I'm not liking the bumps a lot. I think we need to simplify it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna reduce the bump of this bad boy here, because that's the one causing most of the trouble, I believe. Or is it this one? Let me check. Yeah, it's a mix of both. Okay, yeah, this is cleaner, but this light that's happening here, it's super ugly. So good thing is that we have the object separated now. So we are gonna grab the key and we are gonna include, instead of the whole node, we are just gonna include the here, 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 not this one. So the label, it's separated. Let's just like the label, right? So it's gonna be easier, and that's definitely something that you should do in order to get like the best lighting effects. Don't be worried about having to duplicate your lights and just make them affect a tiny bit of your product, because that's how it's done in real life. So yeah, just go for it, because that's how it's done. That's one of the cool things about Brexit is that light linking. It's really nice, and it's really easy to link and link lights. So yeah, I think that's looking really nice. This one is a little bit too hot still. That's looking great. I think these ones are a little bit dull right now. They could be a little bit better, but let's focus on this little guy here. Uh, we will get into finalizing everything. So this dude is already split. So thanks to allow run fast. This label, and let's go this bad boy. Okay, so yeah, let's try to highlight that part a little bit better, because we have a logo there, so it's important that we see a little bit of it. Otherwise, obviously, the client will be mad. I'm gonna pump it out a little bit in the intensity, because I've made it super small. What I'm doing here is I'm reducing it down so I can get the gradient texture that we have affecting from this side to that side. I think it's not working because the direction of lights here and here are different. And by the way, that texture is not the same. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate this. I'm gonna this box. I'm gonna steal this bad boy here and apply it here. Oops. Because the color of it is not the same. Yeah, that's better. So let's try to give it a little bit more context. So they look similar. The diagonal light is always looking good, but we have to keep in mind that these lights are more straight on, so it will look like realistic. Duplicate it so we have same thing, two of them. And I'm gonna remove the target because it's not working for me right now. It's really cool to place it first, but as it's directly facing the light, sometimes I need to do it myself. So it's a bit more straight on. Yeah, cool, and then duplicate it back again. Yeah, that's better, way better. And now let's reduce the intensity as well. So yeah, that's looking kind of cool. Let's try to pump up this bump a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Okay, cool stuff, cool stuff. We are getting close to the end, at least for now. I just wanted to make like a quick breakdown of these slides. Let's organize this a little bit better. So let's go one by one because I'm not happy interacting with this. So let me remove the label lights. And let's see what's when you have two lights like that, you have to decide which one is going to be the strong one because otherwise they will be competing with each other, and that's never going to look great because you need to find a balance between both. So actually, let's try to put this one as the high one and reduce this one a little bit more. I also think that the gradient is not acting as I want it to, because I think it's coming from this part to this part, and I want it to be like this. Check, check. No, right now it's going from up to down. You can see because of the brightness. Let's do the same thing. Let's remove the target. This surface is it's a little bit trickier to light, but also will get some cool reflections once it's properly lit. So you can see if I rotate it slightly, it won't hit ever again because we need to get straight onto this part. For example, that's the one that I want to hit. Well, I think that's looking kind of cool. Of course, you can spend a lot of time refining that kind of stuff. I want to keep this video like super short. I know I speak too much in the audio. So let's put down the light to 1, so it's a little bit hotter, but maybe not so much. 5. And let's do some pose effects because I don't want to. I'm gonna delete this because I want it to. I want to start from scratch, and I don't want to do any post production in Photoshop. So what you can do, I usually like to use this too. Sometimes LUT, but in this case, I honestly prefer to use LUTs for interiors. So you see that every time that you put the exposure settings on, everything changes. So easy way to get the raw image is just you put 90 here, 110, 0, and 1. I think I've shown this before. It's just so I can control the highlights. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this up and contrast a little bit down. Not a little bit down, sorry, the darks a little bit higher. And now we can start playing around. So as you can see, we are getting a little bit farther. So I can control here and put a little more saturation. This is too much, I believe. I think the saturation is a little bit too much here. So yeah, this is just a cool way of adjusting your images a little bit. So for example, if you want to go for another kind of hue, you can always tweak the white point, which is basically uh, the color balance. So obviously, if you go too high, everything will start to look like shit. But for example, if you want to add a little bit more warmth to the image without having to go to change all the lights and all the materials, you can just add it here, which is cool when the client says, say, can it be a little bit more warm? But in this case, the colors are pretty spot on, so I'm not gonna worry about that. The label, they're not perfect. I must say. I'm not really happy with them. But as I said, it's a matter of just finding the right placement. Also, what you can do is try to find another angle because maybe you can put it like this. It's tricky because of the curvature of the model. For now, as you can see, we got like the whole typography really standing. So let's try to do one more thing that I didn't do in the original image. I have, this is super old, so there's a lot of stuff that I don't need. Let's try to blur the horizon of this floor. By the way, I didn't explain it. It's basically an aluminium preset, nothing else, like literally. As this is a cylinder, we already have like a good radial gradient happening. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna color invert this, and I'm gonna put it on the opacity color. Since that we are also getting, we are also making this part disappear, so we will do that in a second. Put it in smooth, so it's a bit softer. Let's see how it looks. Okay, it's too much. But this part is really cool. Let's remove that one. So let's try using another RAM in horizontal. No, it's gonna be a little bit tricky right now. Okay, this might do it. Let's create a color mix. Mix this one. Okay, we need to make that white. So let's use this as a mix and let's see how it should be the opposite, I guess. Yeah. Let's see how this looks. We got rid of that. Yep. Okay, it's working. So we fade it out so it looks a little bit more magical, I guess. It looks like even has a little bit of fog or something like that. So I think I haven't missed anything. Uh, I have no displacement, but where you see the tag is just because of the object ID. And well, let's um, have a look at the setup. Let me hide the camera. So let's go one by one to see what we did. So we have this HDRI for the background only. This is super dope anyway. Let's go for the background first. As you can see in this image, the background is really important because we have a lot of reflection. We should see a lot of it here. Key, main light, right and left, boom. Just to highlight the curvature of the object a little bit more. Label 1, label 2, and my little friends here. That's cool. One thing that we could do also, maybe we could blurry this reflection a little bit, because right now it's taking a little bit too much attention. Like if you print this is a little bit too much in my opinion. So let's try to put it. Yeah, like that. It's cool. So yeah, I think it's a really nice result. Maybe it's a little bit too congested right now. I don't know. As I always say, I always like to spend a little bit more time tweaking everything, but I think it turned it out nicely. I forgot to mention about the camera though. The camera is just 100 millimeters, 120 millimeters, so it's super flat, and we get like a good taste of how the actual size of the bottle is, and it's not distorted. Everything is really straight on. Well, the usual thing about cameras that I'm sure you guys already know. So yeah, I think that's it for today's tutorial, this month's tutorial. I hope you guys liked it, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.